Welcome back to the 500 Sprintcast presented by Redline Ace. I'm Zach Heiser. Ashton Smyth joins me, and Ashton coming up on a very big weekend for the 500 Sprint Car Tour. All of the open wheel community is buzzing about the 500 Sprint Car Tour's return to Winchester Speedway for the Tom Bigelow. Talk to me about it. I know even you're grinning ear to ear about their return.
I know this is so awesome to see sprint cars back at Winchester. First time since 2019 we've seen sprint cars. USAC Silver Crowns ran there, but real sprint cars back at Winchester since 2019. And Zach, holy cow, this entry list. When I talked to Jared earlier today, he said, I thought we were gonna have 16 cars, and if I had 18, man, I'd be the happiest man in the world. And now we're sitting at 26. And
Unreal.
not only that, the strength of the field is, I mean, insane. You have four different Little 500 winners in the field. Bobby Santos coming off of his huge dominating win at Toledo. Cody Swanson's back. Tyler Roark's back. Both of those guys you can always count on to be good no matter where we go. But let's talk about this one for a second. Brian Tyler back.
Wow.
First 500 Sprint Car Tour start. Um, and I mean, he probably out of everyone in the field has the most laps around Winchester. So
Who would
that's
have
going to play it in.
who would have thought that the Michigan Motorsports Hall of Famer would decide, "Yep, let's dust off the helmet. We're going racing again. It's Winchester."
I know, crazy, absolutely crazy. And more so, what's, insane to me, it's his first 500 Sprint Car Tour start.
Hmm.
So yeah, let's just, go out guns a-blazing with the, Winchester Speedway. It's going to be insane. Um, Also, going into this weekend, the points battle as well is quite tight right now. Dakota Armstrong leads it with 400, did not have a good week at Toledo.
Right.
And rumor has it, he is hopping into the car that his cousin won the Little 500 with
Oh,
for
okay.
Winchester this year. So, bigger engine, and Dakota is, coming back, trying to hold this points lead. He wants this championship. But he only leads by 6 points over Bobby Santos right now. 6 points back is Bobby Santos. Tyler Roark, 8 points back of the lead of Dakota Armstrong. Jackson Masenko sits in fourth, 15 points back. And then Kyle O'Gara sits in fifth, 22 points back. So 22-point margin between first and fifth.
And we
That's a
talked to
really tight battle.
and we talked to Kyle O'Gara in our last show, and how hungry is he to go down this
Hmm.
stretch and get into championship contention that could start this Sunday at Winchester Speedway. Want to put you on notice for somebody though. You talked about this entry list, Ashton. Let me direct your attention to Rookie of the Year contender Matt Dimmitt, the Fort Wayne, Indiana driver. He has a couple of run for the gun 50 wins in the Midwest Modifieds Tour at Winchester Speedway during Winchester 400 weekend. He knows Winchester Speedway. He understands how to run an open wheel car around that racetrack. Now, power to rate ratio, obviously a little different from modifieds to 500 Sprint Car Tour, Ashton, but you talk to anybody, and we will talk to a couple of drivers coming up here in just a little while. Figuring out how to run Winchester Speedway is as much a battle as figuring out how to run your car fast around that place. Matt has that figured out. He knows where to be fast around Winchester. I think if he's comfortable in that sprint car, Ashton, he could be one to keep an eye on Sunday.
Yeah, and I actually got the opportunity to talk with Matt before the show back at Toledo, and where he ran double duty and kind of talking to him about, okay, what's it like jumping between the modified and the sprint car? And he said, they're really not that different. So going into Winchester, not a lot of guys have laps in a sprint car at Winchester. So this is where you might see Matt shine, where it's more words, more so an even playing field with
But
kind
he's
of
got the
everyone in
track
the field.
experience, right? That's where he
Right,
kind of comes ahead.
exactly.
Is he's got the track experience. It's a level fact that nobody's run sprint cars here in 5 years. USAC Silver Crown car, a completely different animal. Not that Cody Swanson isn't, and Tyler Roark aren't going to take advantage of that
Yeah.
experience around there. But it is different. So I just felt compelled to say, when you look at this entry list, which is available online at 500 sprintcartour.com, don't overlook the Rookie of the Year contender Matt Dimmitt, because he can
Yeah,
win at Winchester. So just something to keep
for
an eye on.
sure. Ryan Newman also in the field. Obviously nine-time Little 500 winner Eric Gordon on the wrenches for that car.
And
He
Ryan
has a win
Newman,
at
by the way,
Winchester.
fresh off a modified win, so he's feeling good,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, he's also been up running a dirt late model
Is that right?
recently. Fun fact. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. I believe at I-94 he drove the two-seater last weekend, but he was out testing a dirt super late model, which I was like, whoa, Ryan, you're in my neck of the woods now. Um, but yeah, I mean, everyone's come out of the woodworks for this race. Davey Hamilton Jr. is in the field. Jackson Masenko, obviously, we see him weekly. Colton Bettis back with the Aaron Pierce 26. I'll be interested to see if they stick with that V6 engine package that they had for the Little 500 this year, if they switch it up for, I mean, obviously an entirely different beast that is Winchester. Jake McElfresh, Nathan Bird, Taylor Ferns, Kyle O'Gara, Tony Main, home track start for him. And we'll hear from him in just a little bit, and the list goes on and on and on and on. We are looking forward to a great Sunday race with the return of sprint cars at Winchester Speedway.
Ashton, you're the insider. Let me know procedure wise. Will all 26 cars start? We're almost at 30. Only need four more guys to decide they want to bring the cars out. What is going to happen on Sunday to set the field?
Yeah, they will not start all 26 cars. Only 24 cars with the 500 Sprint Car Tour will start the A main. So they will have a B main feature as of now if all 26 cars show up. And something else that I failed to mention as well, 7 grand to the winner.
Wow.
That's a pretty big payday
Yeah.
for whoever takes home this check. So many huge factors going into this one. I mean, all eyes are going to be on Winchester Speedway this weekend.
That's going to be really exciting. And Dirt Vision will have you covered if you can't make the trip down to Winchester, Indiana. But I highly suggest you do go and see that historic racetrack and the Tom Bigelow Showdown this coming Sunday. Since we last talked, Ashton, the Kenyon Midgets were in action back in Anderson Speedway on a Saturday Night Lights episode. And Dameron Taylor, what a bounce back. Struggled in the one dirt race that they had this year, really struggled. And he said, you know what? I'm not going to let that be the reason this championship slips away from me. Right back in victory lane at Anderson.
Yeah, 19th trip to victory lane at Anderson Speedway for Dameron Taylor. I mean, it's almost, getting to the point when you roll through the gates at Anderson Speedway, it's like, okay, are we battling for second here after Dameron Taylor? Third win of the season is, as a whole, and keep in mind, it was a 75 lapper for the Don and Mel Kenyon Classic. So I think experience might have played more so to Dameron's key there.
He was not only
Um,
the winner, he was the advanced racing suspension hard charger as well. So that just shows you how good that car was.
Yeah. Evan Hammond, man, I feel like we say this every single week.
I was
Took
gonna
the
bring that
lead
up.
at the
Yeah.
start. Yeah. And then it was Jace Petty, Dameron Taylor, Isaac Johnson all in that battle as well. I mean, oh my gosh, I hate it for Evan Hammond. I feel like every single week
You
we
are
just
gonna
keep talking
throw a
about him,
party.
talking.
You're gonna throw a party on this show when Evan Hammond goes to victory lane. I can feel it.
I mean, Zach, I've been, around this series for 2 years now, and I feel like it's been a topic of conversation since I first, started watching the Kenny Midget series. It's okay, Evan Hammond's so close, so close, so close, and I mean, he is. Man, I hate it for him. Hopefully, one day soon. But lap 28, Evan Hammond loses the lead to Jace Petty, and then yeah, Dameron Taylor able to take the lead back on lap 53. And it was really came down to lap traffic that, Dameron Taylor was able to uh, do better than Jace Petty. Jace being a rookie, but still finishing second is huge for him. And we'll actually hear from his car owner in just a little bit. But second consecutive podium finish for Jace Petty, and a runner-up spot means his career best for him as well. So, that Jeff Hill team and Jace Petty's starting to put pieces together, and
You expect
you know,
do you expect Jace to go to victory lane before the end of the year?
I think it'll be very, very, very soon. And like I said, we'll hear from Jeff a little bit later on, but that team that they have built together over there, it's just a matter of time before one of them ends up in victory lane.
Yeah.
Kyle Sheard as well. Kyle is one to take the risks that not a lot of others will. Sometimes it works out for him, sometimes it doesn't. And this week, unfortunately, was a case of it didn't. Played some gambles with tires, and it did not work out in his favor for qualifying. But man, it is just a gambling game with a lot of these drivers on, okay, they are so strong each and every single week. When are they going to end up in victory lane? And I think, yeah, you can 100% add Petty's name to that list.
Yeah, all right. It's going to be very exciting. We'll talk about the next events for the Kenyon Midget Series coming up at the end of the program. Interviews coming up, but first, right now, we want to say thank you to Redline Ace, a motorsports-driven design agency working with series teams and drivers from all aspects of racing. Owner creative Ben Porter has been working on projects from Formula One to local kart racers and wants to inject that experience into every client that he works with. In a sport that separates competitors, wins, and sponsorships by razor thin margins, why not hire Redline Ace to boost your brand before the competition does? Time for our first featured interview this week on the 500 Sprintcast presented by Redline Ace. It is our pleasure to welcome in a multifaceted supporter of the Kenyon Midget Series, and that is, of course, Jeff Hill. Welcome into the show.
Glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
First and foremost, for those of us watching on YouTube, we'll fill those in listening. Your backdrop already tells us a lot about what you do in motorsports. Yes, Jeff Hill Trailer Sales, great supporter of the Kenyon Midget Series. And so for folks who have heard of Jeff Hill Trailer Sales, they might not have heard about Jeff Hill, the multi-car owner in the Kenyon Midget Series. Talk about your involvement with this series and all the different ways that you support Kenyon Midgets.
Absolutely. I started out racing 12 years ago, long story short. And we were racing go-karts out at Newcastle Motorsports Park, got more involved. And a friend asked to where I got my trailer at. And I was like, well, actually, I can sell you a trailer. And I ended up selling him my very first trailer. So that's how we started Jeff Hill Trailer Sales. And then it grew and grew. And I was in the office one day, and we'd been racing go-karts, like I said, for 12 years. I was in the office, and in walks Glenn Main, which is Tony Main's father. And he's seen the go-kart. We've chatted about it and racing. And I said, man, he told me about the sprint cars. And I said, I'd love to race a midget one day. He said, look into the Kenyon midgets. I was like, what is a Kenyon midget? Well, 10 minutes later, I'm already in Google and found one for sale and bought one and started with one. And the wife said, you're not racing. I said, okay, I'll put Kyle Sheard in the car. And I said, I want to race it once though. So I raced the first Anderson race 3 years ago. She's like, well, that wasn't too bad. And we finished seventh our first race. She's like, you did pretty good. So then I went and got Kyle another car because we needed two because I was going to be allowed to race. And we ended up with two. And then our fleet grew to four with Ryan Petty and Chase, his son, joining us, and Phil Brown and his son, Landon Brown, joining us. So thanks to Glen Maine, we've got four midgets, Kenyon midgets here in Modoc, Indiana.
What great foreshadowing, by the way, coming up for the second half of our show tonight. Indiana is open wheel territory, hands down. Obviously, 500 Sprint Car Tour, Kenyon Midget Series, a part of that. USAC, so many open wheel sanctions. Indy 500, of course, for those who are not as deep into the grassroots side of things. So we know why you got into Kenyon midgets, but it would be really easy to use Kenyon as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. Why have you decided to make this your place of investment and really kind of, I mean, four cars, four entries, multiple drivers sponsoring the series? You went all in on this, and obviously you see great potential. You see great things out of this series.
I think Brad and Nancy with the United States Speed Association are doing a great job at building the series and building upon what Don and Mel built. Um, I think it's a great feeder series out of karting, whether you're doing oval karts on dirt or you're doing a sprint road course on asphalt. I think it's a great transition into open wheel racing. Growing up in Indiana, I grew up 10 minutes here from Winchester Speedway. Um, my dad, we grew up watching Jeff Gordon race at Winchester, and I'm super excited. Sadly, we're going to miss it because we're going on a family vacation, but it's so exciting to see the Sprint 500 Tour coming back to Winchester. I mean, that's the mecca of sprint car racing. That and Anderson, what two great places. Um, so yeah, I don't
I
know.
I wanted to ask you about, your fleet of drivers that you have on tap now, because throughout the 2025 season, we've seen four different drivers out of your camp. And how did you get connected with them? How much, thought process goes into it? Okay, not only is this driver gonna, run my equipment and stuff, but they're also representing you and your company and all of that. And I mean, you've had quite decent success this year between these four drivers.
Yeah, most of them just grew up watching them play around at the track. You know, I was in the older classes running with the older guys. I raced against Phil, which is Landon's dad. I met Petty's years ago traveling with Cup Carts North America, and just great drivers and the great families. And we wanted to surround ourselves with people like that. And we just got lucky that they all wanted to join our crew and grow with us. I've been one to always take risks on the track as far as setups, just doing out of the box, not following the Kenyon norm. Sometimes it's paid off and sometimes it hasn't paid off, but it allows us to learn and grow as a team. I mean, we set first and second this weekend in qualifying. And I think our other two drivers had Kyle not took his risk on the tires that he used for qualifying, I think he'd have been in the top four as well. So, yeah, we got a great fleet of drivers, and Eli Fox joined us this year. He's running my car half the season. I'm running it the other half. And Eli, again, I've watched that kid race go-karts since he was 6 years old. So it's exciting to have all four of those guys joining our team.
What is it like trying to balance between, okay, when you're driving the car versus, taking care of the cars versus being a car owner versus, sponsor the series versus selling trailers? I mean, that's a lot on your plate. What is it like balancing all of that? And out of all of those jobs that you hold within, the Kenny Midget series, which one's your favorite? I know that's a hard question probably, but
Driving's always the favorite. I couldn't do any of it without David Simmerman. I mean, he's in the shop 24/7 with us. He sets up all the cars, he does all the maintenance. Without David, we couldn't do any of it. Without my wife and daughter, I mean, they help tremendous just with things at the house and the business and everything else. It's amazing how much time it takes to get four Kenyons ready to go racing. But and then run the business on top of that. We do a lot of custom order race trailers that we ship all over the United States and even overseas. So it's a lot. And especially the next 8 weeks coming up, we've got 6 race weekends. So it's going to be a lot, a lot. So
Grueling stretch for sure.
yeah, for sure.
What is the for you now? You're kind of in that middle mode, I guess, right? Somebody who's a race car driver now. You own so many race cars, still a driver yourself. What is it like being kind of a development guy for this young talent that that they've got the talent behind the wheel, but also their success depends on what you can provide them and what you can teach them to help them kind of get to the next level. What's that role like for you?
It's challenging to be a driver and a competitor against them. And it's challenging too because you want to see each of them win and you ultimately want to see the team do good. But at the end of the day, it's like some of them are going to get second, third, and fourth, and so forth. And it's really hard to balance it all. And it's really frustrating when a driver isn't having a great day. You always are concerned, is Jeff doing everything he can for our car to get it to the front? And it's a lot to juggle and balance, but I think the team knows we do everything we can to make it perfect and make them all fast as we can. I may slow the other three cars down though at Berlin, make them a little bit tighter. I'm going to race Berlin and Salem coming up.
Well, you make that joke, and I don't know how much you were joking. Ashton and I were the only ones that laughed. But it's kind of like going to the arcade and the kart track, right? And you got to try to find the fastest kart when you're out there competing.
Right,
How
right, absolutely.
how similar are these cars? How interchangeable are they? If one has a problem, and let's say one of your drivers is in the points or something like that, I mean, how close are they? How much work does it take to keep each driver acclimated to what they want in a race car?
Setup wise, they're all pretty similar. Same shocks, same springs, everything balances out to be pretty close. They do scale out a little bit differently each time, but we're all pretty darn close each weekend. There's not a lot of difference in it. I typically will run something totally different just because, again, I like to learn. I like to try different stuff to see if it helps. And some of that stuff we've learned, we've added to our setups this year, which allowed us to get first and second at Anderson this past weekend in qualifying. So that's important. Um, But yeah, they're a lot different in far as each chassis. Each chassis is a different mounting bracket for something and different components and different. I think all four of our cars have different front brake rotors.
Really?
So I think it was when we built the cars, they used what they had, and so those things make it difficult because you can't just stock eight different rotors and things of that nature. But Brad's actually doing a good job of developing new parts for the cars to make
Okay.
them more universal and up to date.
Ashton, anything else for Jeff here as we get ready to wrap up?
Yeah, actually, you guys, like you said, are about to take off on a little bit of a longer stretch. Which track are you most looking forward to as a team? Or, at the end of the 2025 season, what do you consider a success for your team as a whole?
Just we need some wins. We really need a win. We've been chasing it. Kyle Sheard has been fast all year, and he would have been there in the top three, four. I think this past weekend had he not took the gamble on his tires he chose for qualifying. I just want to win. I mean, we're there to win. Um, and it's tough when you're racing guys like Dameron and Evan Hammond and Isaac Johnson, and the list goes on. I mean, Clayton Gaines, there's a lot of great drivers in the series with a lot of experience from different race backgrounds. So we just want to win.
It's that simple. We just
That's
want to
simple.
win. Have you uh
Yeah.
have you had the we always hear in the NASCAR world, right? Like the Hendricks and the RCRs and things like, oh, the 1-2 finish, 1-2-3. Have you had that yet? Have you filled the top five with your drivers yet?
We were top four. We haven't finished at top four, but we had four in the top six at Berlin last year,
Awesome.
that's my favorite track. I think Berlin does something just really unique in getting race fans. That they really pack the stands at Berlin, and that's fun as a racer. It makes you feel good, and it's entertaining. And so that was an exciting event last year, and we're excited to go back to Berlin this year. And I'm excited just to get in the car. So
I would be remiss if I didn't give you a chance to give a little plug to Jeff Hill Trailer Sales. Talk about what you guys offer and is it just are we talking about just enclosed race trailers or do you guys do other stuff?
no, we do a lot. We do open flatbeds, utility trailers, enclosed race trailers, enclosed general cargo trailers, and we're excited. We got to team up with the Kenyon Midget Series this year, being their winner circle sponsor. And then we also linked up with the USAC Midwest Thunder Midgets to help them as well in their winner circle as their sponsor. So it's good to be getting our name out in the midget world. And I love race trailers, but general cargo trailers also help pay the bills and
That's right.
racing tire bills. So I need to just do direct deposit to Hoosier. It'd probably be cheaper. But yeah.
They're basically on the payroll, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They
Yeah,
are.
Might
They
as well
are a
be,
good
right?
tax deduction, though. Racing is a good tax deduction.
that's
So
right.
Hey, there you go.
That's right. You never
advertising and marketing.
That's exactly right, sir. You are exactly right. Hey, good luck the rest of the way, and good luck at Berlin up here in my home state. Hopefully that goes well for you again this year, and we'll keep an eye on you.
I absolutely appreciate the opportunity and thanks, guys, for what you're doing and hope the podcast grows and grows and grows.
Time for our second half of the featured interviews this week, and now we move into the 500 sprint car side of things. Another Indiana native joins us on the program tonight. Tony Main, welcome in to the show.
Hi, Zach, Ashton. Good to be on.
This was put to me very bluntly that you may be the most excited guy in Indiana about the 500 tour going to Winchester this weekend. Man, talk about your loyalty, first of all, to the 500 Sprint Car Tour. And then, second of all, I think there's a lot of people who are excited about the tour coming back to Winchester, but why does it have you so fired up?
Well, the 500 Sprint Car Tour, uh, with us getting into running pavement and running the Little Five, initially with the USSA deal, and then uh, it Jared started talking about wanting to take the USSA deal over and start traveling more. And we were all about it because at that time in my life with my boys, it was going to be, hey, we're just going to run pavement and not run the dirt, cut back on the number of races that we're doing. So it worked out really well that, hey, if they're running 8 to 10 races and hitting some different tracks, that we can jump in and do this and not have the commitment of 20 races or chasing more of the local dirt stuff. It's tough to have a race car and have it sitting in the shop on a Friday night and not go racing, and then it's tough to do that and have 3 boys at home that want to play baseball and now race quarter midgets also.
Mm-hmm. Your history
and Winchester. Winchester means a lot to me because my dad worked on the fire crew since about, I think, when he got out of high school. So my grandpa was on the fire crew out there with him in high school, and then my dad was on the fire crew because from high school on, from 18 on, worked on the fire crew. So I grew up going to Winchester, sitting inside of turn 2, inside the fence in the infield, and me and Dad would pass football back and forth.
Oh, cool.
Toss baseball back and forth for all the Thursday and Saturday night Thunder stuff. Many nights getting loaded up into the car with Dad saying, "Hey, you better be really good for your mom in the morning, else we're not going to be able to do this again." It never stopped us because we did it again a lot.
Man, did the nights being down there with your dad in safety, does that add to your I guess respect for Winchester Speedway? You know, everybody talks about it. I mean, they even print it on the gate when you walk through there that you got to be pretty darn brave to run around that place. So I imagine with your dad being on the safety crew and you going with him, you've seen some of the massive impacts and wrecks that have happened at that place. What has that done for you and your appreciation, respect? I don't even know what word to use for Winchester Speedway.
His stories of the old wall, guys going over the wall, him helping guys out of sprint cars upside down in the woods. There's the history of that, of how treacherous the place can be, is definitely well aware of that. And then being out there and watching, I remember Doug Coletta having a big fire off of turn 4. I was a big Donnie Adams fan, so I got some pictures of him getting upside down when he was in the Contos car. And then later on, Jason McCord and I forget who else it was that got together coming to the finish for a USAC show. I've got a piece of that car that Jason signed for me. So the respect of the place, being well aware of how it's mythical in its history, and then what it demands from you respect wise. It's a tricky joint, and it's a fast place.
I have a sort of a two-part question here for you. Obviously, grew up there. How are you feeling about being back there in sprint cars? Been a few years since sprint cars have been back. Obviously, very tough place and perfect timing, because I wanted to ask you about that as well. You grew up there playing ball with your father, in the pits and whatever. Now you get to bring your 3 boys. How
Yep.
special is that?
Yeah, it's that adds to the respect of the place, that you have to be well aware of what you're doing when you're there, because the stakes are pretty high. And
Daddy, and you did my shirt off.
yeah, he's trying to crawl on. There you go. Okay, the first part of that question I missed.
No, it's okay. I can re-ask. How are you feeling being back in a sprint car there, driving wise? And then how special is it for you to be able to now bring your boys there and, kind of recreate what you and your father did?
being back there is great. Now that we've in 2019 that we got to run laps, kind of uh, you know, be a little more aware of the track. Not that it got comfortable by any means, but setup wise, we have a better idea of what we need to do, the stuff we need to prep for to try to figure out as far as tire wise, be ready for it. So there's lots of things that help me feel a little more confident that we can hopefully pick the pace up a little bit and be able to drive the track hard. And take my boys back is awesome because they've been out there for the Silver Crown races. We've been out there for I think most of those just because I love the place. If there's open wheel cars out there, I really want to be out there regardless of what it is. Um, because besides being there when I was little and watching races, I worked in the concession stand flipping burgers and grilling hot dogs for 2 or 3 years in high school. And then I actually worked for Charlie Shaw at the casket factory for a short while too. Uh, so I know Charlie pretty well. Most crew that's out there, especially Danny Redmond now that's promoting it, he has a long history with my dad being on the fire crew uh, and know Danny really well. So there's just a lot of connections that make it really neat. Uh, and and especially neat to have all my boys back now too, because the oldest two were out there in 2019 with us. Uh, I don't think they remembered that well, so they'll have a little more fun going back this time now too.
With the return of the sprint cars, you mentioned the USAC Silver Crown, which is probably the most prevalent thing in people's mind when it comes to Winchester Speedway. What are you expecting? What are you anticipating on Sunday? And what can the fans expect out of this 500 Sprint Car Tour race?
With the car count and the entry list we have going, it's gonna be really good, and it's gonna be really tough because uh, there's several guys that are running with us that have the crown experience from the last 4 or 5 years now. So they're gonna come out of the hole pretty tough on setups and track time and experience. So there's definitely gonna be uh, we're back behind the eight ball a little bit, trying to chase those guys that have made quite a few laps in the last few years. You're gonna have to help them on.
I love it that you have to step into the dad role in the middle of your media responsibility. That's good dad right there, Tony. It's good dad.
Well, finding a place that I have phone signal and that is quiet is about impossible at my house. So
To get the two things to overlap, right? I understand. Hey, you mentioned Dan
yeah,
Redmond, and I've had a chance to work with Dan Redmond on a couple of different projects with thanks to my association with Champion Racing Association. And with you being a
okay.
local guy, I just wanted to ask you, you have seen Winchester's turnover these last, we'll call it, like you said, about 6 years or so, just under 10 years, under a decade. There is a lot of excitement behind Dan and his vision and what he hopes to do with this racetrack. What have you seen firsthand? What are some of the conversations you've had, and do you share that anticipation and excitement for what Dan and his family can do at the helm of this place?
Yeah, massive respect for Dan coming on board and Charlie for giving him a chance and a little bit more reins to go and do stuff. His connection locally and the success he's had with the Vorer series shows how much he is hustling the short track atmosphere with pavement. I guess the Forest runs some dirt too, but you know his hustle and his work ethic is great to see that, and what he's done locally to get some more involvement in Winchester is great. I mean, I know they have the Randolph County Historical Society has got a display going on. I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday with some of the history of the track. They've got a shuttle bus running between a couple of different places to be able to run fans around. Uh, so it's pretty cool. And they have, I forget the movie, Now and Then, I think is what it was. There's just some movie that was originally filmed in Winchester that's like 30 or 40th reunion of it that's going on this weekend too. Uh, so there might be a niche crowd of people that know of Winchester, Indiana, outside of like Wix Pies and Winchester Speedway.
Well, you've talked a lot about Winchester, and then Ashton, I'll yield back to you. I just wanted to ask, Winchester Speedway in its own thing is a great big event and really cool, and that the 500 Sprint Car Tour is getting to go back there. Can you speak on the Tom Bigelow portion of it and the namesake of this race on Sunday, and what significance that holds for you?
Yeah, Tom, again, the local tie, and that's with Winchester Speedway is great. The Armstrong, what he did in the Armstrong mold car at Indy is obviously legendary, and he's been his sprint car expertise and his Tom is so outspoken or so easy to speak with and talk with and so outgoing. His personality is so large, and to been able to set in on a couple events that he's spoken at and told stories from years past, and it's just awesome. So that kind of the fan base that he has from his years and years of racing and winning across all open wheel division. There's so many people that have a great connection to Tom, and then the track has such a great connection to him. It's just awesome to be a part of it, and it'll be really cool to see the fans that come out for him.
Ashton, you got anything to wrap us up with?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on your sprint car season as a whole. We see you quite often with the 500 Sprint Car Tour. Sitting 14th in points right now. What do we expect out of this 74 car for the rest of the season?
I'm gonna miss probably. I don't think we're gonna be able to make the Salem. I've got a family vacation that weekend, and my dad. Last year we kind of struggled at Salem, and Dad kind of said, "Well, if you want to run Winchester, how about we not go to the other big fast half mile?" I was like, "Okay, well, I could hate to not go back to Salem. We can pass there to make sure that I have a chance to run at Winchester." So we're hopefully going to be able to make some gains. The car felt really good at Toledo, just didn't end up. I kind of goofed up qualifying, so that set us back a little bit and didn't make up enough during the race. But we're inching closer, setup wise, and the crew of guys, Tim Harder and Kenny Main, that'll be out there at Winchester to help us. Guys that have helped at several races this year that have been great on. We're gelling on what we need to do, and the feedback that they see when I'm on the track just helps me make chassis decisions even better. And then working real good buddies with Donnie Adams Jr. So we talk and discuss setup stuff all the time. It'll be really neat to run at Winchester with him because I watched his dad out there so much. I would get my grandpa was good friends with Wilbur Huffman that had the record business in Winchester and pushed sprint cars and midgets at Winchester for so many years. So we would get the heads up when there was going to be an open practice at Winchester. So my grandpa would take me out there, and I would ride in the push truck with Wilbur for hours. Wow. And got to do that a couple times when Donnie was out there practicing. So that was a highlight of being 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. So going racing back with Donnie out there, it'll be great. Outside of just being great to be there in a sprint car.
Well, and Jeff Hill was on, and he kind of foreshadowed your appearance, talking about your dad and how that whole thing got started. This Winchester community and open wheel racing is very webbed together when you start trying to break it down.
Yeah. Dad bought a dump trailer off of Jeff, and I don't know how he ended up talking racing. And it might have been Jeff was still running the go-karts then, asking about what the next step was on getting a dirt sprint car, what to do. Dad kind of said, the Kenyon midgets might be something where you can run pavement and have a little less entry cost than just jumping into a sprint car, and then ran a practice or two, and Dad might have helped him some, and then he jumped in full bore with I don't know how many cars he owns now. So.
Yeah, 4 is the answer now. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tony, I appreciate it, man. Good luck this weekend. Enjoy returning to Winchester. Enjoy the Tom Bigelow, and man, enjoy having family down there. That is going to be really fun for you. Good luck. Thanks for being on the show. Well, what a great pair of interviews, and I really didn't realize, Ashton. I'm sure you did because you've been with these teams. What a web, right? We talked to Jeff
Hmm.
Hill, and he brings up Tony's dad, and then we bring Tony on. And he's like, "Yeah, Jeff and my dad." I said, "Whoa, hold on." We're going to talk about this, man. Hold on. It is so cool. What a network between everybody down there in central Indiana. And it's going to be a really good show on Sunday for the 500 Sprint Car Tour.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about both the 500 Sprint Car Tour and the Kenyon Midget Series is how many of these guys intertwined at one point or another. And I mean, Tony even talking about, yeah, I grew up watching Donnie Adams racing. Now I get to race alongside his son. How cool is that? I mean, so many special things between these two series, and the return to Winchester Speedway is going to be another special one added to that list. I mean, Zach, I cannot wait. I unfortunately will not be there, but I can tell you I will be glued to Dirt Vision on my
The Dirt
phone
Vision
Sunday
going.
morning.
That's
Yeah,
right.
watching the race.
Yeah, here's the schedule for those of you who would like to head on down. If you are a pit pass buyer, pits open at 8 a.m., drivers meeting at 9:30. Cars get on track for opening practice at just after 10 o'clock, after 500 Sprint Car Tour engine heat is completed. If you're somebody like me who says, if I don't have to work, I'm not going to be there that early, 2:30. Pre-race ceremonies are scheduled. The autograph session at 1:50. So if you want to get the autographs, get down there early. And then green flag racing set to begin 2:45 Sunday afternoon with the 500 Sprint Car Tour Tom Bigelow 50-lap feature. Thunder Roadsters on the card as well as modified. So that's what's up next for the 500 Sprint Car Tour. They'll be back in action again on Saturday, July 12th at Salem Speedway. We'll preview that show more on our next 500 Sprint Cast. Same thing for the Kenyon Midget Series. Their next event is at Salem Speedway on July 12th. Again, we'll preview that one a little bit more in depth on our next episode. So that is going to do it for the 500 Sprint Cast presented by Redline Ace. For Ashton Smyth, my co-host, Brad Hayes, Jared Owen, and everybody with the 500 Sprint Car Tour and Kenyon Midget Series, I'm Zach Heiser. Thanking you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a safe and happy 4th of July, and we'll see you on the next episode of the 500 Sprint Cast.